I think that if Ukraine were to be crushed or forced into a bad peace, the consequences for freedom around the world would be appalling, and that view is shared by everyone in NATO. So let's be absolutely clear. The best way for us to win the argument around the world about our values, what we stand for, about our opposition to the use of force to change boundaries, about the primacy of international law, the best way to win that argument is for the Ukrainians to win and for Putin to fail in Ukraine. And that's why I'm pleased today that we've announced another £1 billion worth of military support. And if you wanted evidence of the amazing ability of the Ukrainians to fight back, to overcome adversity and to repel the Russians, then look at what has happened just today on Snake Island, where again Russia has had to cede ground. In the end, it will prove impossible for Putin to hold down a country that will not accept his rule. This has been a crucial summit in that we are resolved not just to support Ukraine, but we've agreed a new strategic concept. We're moving additionally beyond the doctrine of tripwire deterrence on NATO's eastern flank to a new approach of defence deterrence by denial. And countries around the table are also recognising that they need to spend more. And in our case, that means meeting and being prepared to exceed the target we set for ourselves a decade ago of everybody spending 2% of GDP on defence, the goals that were then set for a very different era. And what we're saying is that we want Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General, to start work on that new target now, and he's agreed to do that. We need to invest for the long term in vital capabilities like future combat air, while simultaneously adapting to a more dangerous and more competitive world. And the logical conclusion of the investments on which we propose to embark, of these decisions, is that we will reach 2.5% of GDP on defence by the end of the decade. I want to say a big thank you to our Spanish hosts. I think they've done an amazing job. I want to thank Jens Stoltenberg. And my view is at the end of this Madrid summit, the NATO alliance is plainly in robust health and getting stronger, with new members and a renewed purpose. We can see that our work is cut out, and we can see that there are billions of people around the world, swing voters, who need to hear and to understand our arguments. But we have a huge advantage of knowing what we want, in believing in our ideas, and having the means to do what we want to do. And above all, we are united. And if history is any guide, then I believe that this great alliance will again be successful. Thank you all very much, and I'd like to go to the media, where I think we've got a question first from Chris Mason of the BBC.
Thank you, Chris Mason, BBC News. Prime Minister, what is the overall objective of the UK's help and strategy for Ukraine? Is it unequivocally getting the Russians out, restoring Ukraine's borders to how they were before the war? And, if I may, you've been out of the country for 8 days. Are you actually looking forward to returning home, given the ongoing speculation about your own future?
On the second point, yes, I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to get. Not that it's been wonderful being here in Madrid, as you want. As indeed, I enjoyed being in Kigali and Germany. But there's no place like home, so I'm keen to get back. On your point about where we're trying to, what's the goal? We can't be more Ukrainian than the Ukrainians. Everybody understands that. It's for Volodymyr Zelensky, his people to decide what they want to do. Whether they want to cut a deal with Russia to make some kind of peace, of course, that's entirely a matter for them. Though I noticed that after the attack on the shopping centre, I think I saw a poll saying that 89% of Ukrainians would under no circumstances contemplate a land for peace deal. So, I can see that the difficulties in Ukraine. Our job is simply to vindicate the principle, to stand up for the principle of the right of the Ukrainians to protect themselves. That's what we're doing. That's what everybody in the alliance is doing. And we want to give them the means to repel the Russians, to expel the Russians from the territory that they have occupied, because that is the right thing under international law. And as everybody has said, we want at the very least to put Zelensky in the best possible position he could be in if and when he decides that there is anything to talk about. But at the moment, let's be absolutely clear, there doesn't seem to be anything to talk about, because it's not only that the Ukrainian people would find it very difficult to do a deal, Putin isn't even offering a deal. He isn't even offering a deal. I mean, under those circumstances, it is only logical and right to continue to support Ukraine in the way that we are, and indeed to continue to intensify that military support. Because I think that they do have the potential to turn this round. We've seen what Ukraine can do to drive the Russians back. We've seen what they did around Kiev, around Kharkiv, now on Snake Island. I think the right thing for us is to keep going on the course that NATO has set out, no matter how difficult it. But that's what this summit has certainly agreed. Romilly Weeks of ITV.
One, two. I'll shout too. Prime Minister, the American assessment is that the war in Ukraine could grind on for an extended period of time. Do you really think you've won the argument amongst fellow leaders to support Ukraine to the bitter end? And do you think you can sustain an appetite for that back home?
So, Romilly, I think I think the argument here at NATO, the argument at G7, is very, very clear, and everybody, I think, there's a great deal of unity around this table. Everybody can see the point of principle, but everybody can see the practical consequences for the world would be disastrous if Putin were to succeed in Ukraine. So there's strong unanimity here.
For a very long time. You've talked a lot about how this is going to abate fairly soon. Are you at risk of being complacent about inflation? Do you need to do more to deal with the fallout of this war?
So I think we have to recognise that the UK is exposed to two particular types of issue. We've got very, very low unemployment, which means we have, by comparison with a lot of other countries around the table, which means we've got a very, very tight labour market, which has an inflationary pressure, and the balance of our energy mix is also difficult at the moment. We have to deal with those issues. We've got to deal with a lot of the underlying causes of cost pressures for people, for businesses, for the whole country. And so we've got to help people with the costs, with the £1,200, all the other help that we're giving, helping people with try to get through the price spike. But you've also got to try to look at the root causes. And I think there are things going on in the UK economy, whether it's in the housing market or the energy market, our transport systems, which are driving the way government spends money, which are driving unnecessary cost pressures for people in our country. And those are the things that we need to fix as part of our plan for a stronger economy. So, Chris, in answer to your basic, I in no way minimise the importance of this, but nor do I minimise. This is a big chance for us now to do things differently and do things better and create foundations for a much stronger economy.